Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our exploration of these caves that are under the sun. Our Koat, our guide, has been showing us some very interesting things before we fell down the cavern of despair, but not before light shone in our faces. And then we started to walk this path of light, but then we fell again. Yet there's still hope. As at this point, God will once again bring forth darkness. Because, like I said, He keeps showing us that life here on earth is not always cleared and easily understood. It's all haval. And He wants to show us that. He's going to leave us with a bad taste in our mouth until we fully understand what He's actually getting at in chapter 6. He's going to use a person I like to call the super blessed. He's going to present somebody who seems to be mega blessed. And we need to keep in mind he is under the old covenant. So he's going to present things that for them show God was with them. But we want to look at it with a Christian perspective. So I'm going to try to give Christian examples to that. But still, we understand he's super blessed. Yet, something's wrong. And that's when God's going to bring out a card he's used before. The great evil, if you will. But let's begin by him bringing forth more darkness. As he says, there is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy on mankind. It's almost like he's blocking the sun that he's already shown on us in the end of chapter 5. And we want to scream out, no, go on, stop blocking the sun. He talks again about an evil thing. One that he says, lays heavy on mankind, weighs us down. It seems something that's all around and really hitting humanity in a greater way. Now, before chapter 5 is more of an exception to the rule. The person's living the way he should according to wisdom and things don't work out. But now he's saying that this is something that's for everybody, even though he's going to use the most perfect mega blessing example that could exist. He's going to say this: a man to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all that he desires, yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity. It is a grievous evil. We've seen this little expression before, grievous evil. We've seen it in chapter 5. And here he brings it up again because he's, again, challenging their typical way of seeing life under the sun as believers. Like I said, he's using the most ultimate ways of being blessed. He talks about having wealth, possessions, and honor. All these triple things just piling on top of each other, showing this guy is really approved by God. That's what it meant. To the point that he's lacking nothing of all that he desires. Everything he could want, he has. Sounds too good to be true, right? But again, let's give you a little Christian twist. Because we know we're not supposed to chase after wealth. Let's say instead you have a good paying job that doesn't demand too much of your time. To the point that you could provide for your family. And you have a nice family. Everybody's healthy. And you have a nice house to go with it. You have all you desire. Not too much, just you have it. You have a good church. The kids love the church. You serve in the church. Everything is all that it should be. Or look at it as a servant's perspective. Somebody who would like to be in ministry. And he starts serving and his church grows and it even becomes a worldwide ministry. Where he's known and serving the Lord all over the world through social media and stuff. He has everything he could desire. He seems like God is with him. Yet, God does not give him the power to enjoy. We've seen again and again this important little touch of God-given ability to enjoy everything. That's the palpableness. That's the true gain. It shows God truly approves of us. So even though he's showing an outward demonstration that God has approved of them, he says, yeah, but deep down though, they can't fully enjoy it. The power to enjoy really speaks of like not just certain moments, because there'll definitely be moments, but it's a lifelong enjoyment of what God has given. And he can't seem to grasp it. I mean, we've had sad stories of people in ministry who seem to have everything they need and end up thinking in their own lives there's something miserable inside of them. And on top of that, he says, though, a stranger enjoys them instead. The stranger is the ultimate evil for a Jew. That's something we could talk about Satan for us. For them, the stranger was those outside, the pagans, that they need to exterminate when they came into Canaan. They need to stay away from them. It's strange women that brought Solomon to destruction, to turn from God. So strangers are the ultimate evil for them. They're the one that gets to enjoy it. Fully and completely actually enjoy. It's extreme what he's saying. That's the point. It's not real. It's to show us how there's something missing. God's approval, God's gifting and enjoying is not there. So he doesn't really seem to have approved of them. That's the point. He's going to continue to expose this ugliness. The smell will come out of it. As he then says, if a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he also has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. He continues to show us mega blessed man. He has hundreds of children. Not just a few dozen, hundreds. We see it in the law, we see it in the Proverbs. This idea of having many children is a blessing of God. He's got it. He's got a long life also. It came with the blessing of obedience. Long life showed that God approved of you. Yet there's still that little element, right? He can't seem to get that satisfaction, that enjoyment that is the ultimate demonstration that God is with you and for you. He doesn't have it. So his first audience are hearing all this demonstration of super blessed, and they're being told God's not for that person. That doesn't make sense. Even less when he talks about the stillborn being better off. A stillborn is someone a baby who's dead when he's born. That's almost the complete antithesis of the other guy. It's almost saying this baby is so rejected by God, he doesn't want to give him life. He has so rejected the family, he gives them death instead of life by giving them a stillborn baby. See, that's the mentality that would exist back then. At this point, Coel will do an autopsy of this dead baby to show us the ugliness, but not before giving us a little twist at the end. Now, take note of one little thing that he mentioned about this guy who seemed super blessed. And that's the fact that he doesn't have a burial. That was very important in the Old Testament. In the law, it says that if somebody's hanging on a tree, killed like that, they die like that, they are cursed. And that's why you need to bury them for the end of the day, because they would stay in that cursed state. Important. Yeah, the whole idea of burying someone would say that they were approved of or rejected after death. See, it was an image of. So that's why you see the good kings, those who brought revival to the people, were put in great burial places with all these perfumes being lit and everything like that, and people mourning them, while the bad kings were just put somewhere and that was it. We didn't want to really talk about, because it really testified that God does not approve of them, but he does approve of them. That's the whole notion of this burial. It speaks more than just where the body is put, is where this person will go eternally. We keep note of that. Put it in our pocket. Because, like I said, it's time to open up the autopsy. He starts by saying, for it comes in vanity and goes in darkness. And in darkness, its name is covered. A vanity, we've seen it over and over again. It's this havel. It's this thing that we can't fully grasp. It's very negative. And this very baby is it. And he doesn't even have a name. That's what he means by his name is covered in darkness. Many times when a baby was born, stillborn, you don't name it, so you don't have the sadness of remembering an actual life. You just bury it like it doesn't exist. He continues and says, "Moreover, he has not seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he." Under the sun. That's the whole point of the series, right? The book is all about having a life under the sun, having a relationship with God under the sun. This baby doesn't even get that. Yet there's still something interesting. He finds rest. We've seen it over and over again. Rest is not just sleep. For Kohelet, rest is eternal rest, eternal approval of God. The worker who gets to rest isn't just the guy who gets a good nap once in a while. He's the one that gets to rest here and rest after because God gives him rest. That's what he's getting at. So on one side, you have this guy who seems to be approved of God, but that little element shows that maybe not, and eternally not, right? The pocket thing again. No burial. Yet you get the stillborn, which speaks of curse all over, smells of curse, but he does get rest though. He does seem to be welcomed in the arms of the Lord afterward. That's when he's going to conclude everything and make sense of it for us. That's when Kohelet's going to say, even though he, mega blessed man, should live 1,000 years, twice over, yet enjoy no good, do not all go to one place? Since Genesis, we've seen that the oldest person was about 1,000 years. This guy has 2,000. Do you imagine the things you could do with 2,000 years, the way you could understand life and succeed, especially if you're a mega blessed man? 2,000 years of mega blessing? Clearly God is for you. Oh no, because again, he doesn't get to enjoy it. God gives him away, takes away this ability that only God gives to those he loves and approves. Like chapter 2 tells us. Which then brings us that little question he ends with. Not all things go to the same place. This is when he, like I said, brings back that old card, that great evil that he mentioned, death, the equalizer. Death that shook him from all of his efforts to try to make sense of life in chapter 2. Death that we can't control and kind of brings everything back on the same level. So even though you were looking at mega blessed man and super cursed baby and saying clearly God approves, God disapproves, but at death, sorry, the great equalizer, everything's made right. Everything's clearly expressed. He gets no burial. He is not approved of God. The baby, though, is. He gets the rest. That's what I'm saying. He's bringing up that reality of death, saying this is where everything is made right. The light shines and we are shown what really matters. This would have been shocking for his first audience that focused all about here and now and how the physical blessing testified God is for you. And he's saying, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't because enjoyment does. And no, it doesn't because eternity really does. And right now, it's that rejected little baby thing. He is the one. He doesn't the rest. That is approved of God. It would have been shocking. And I would say it's also shocking for us. Because we can also hyper-focus as Christians on the life here and now. We can't even imagine the idea of a Christian who just suffers all his life. Struggles with certain sin all of his life. Impossible, right? Because we have this triumphal way of thinking of Christianity. So how everything's going to get better here and now. But the New Testament never talks like that. On the contrary, it says it's afterwards that it gets better. That if our own Lord was one of suffering and misery all of his ministry, why do we think that it would be different for us? We really think that if somebody has a nice life, a nice family, a nice church, God approves of them, right? And if it goes wrong in their family, clearly God's against them. But no, the approval is found in the cross, not the life. See, just like Koel uses death to show what the real approval of God is, death in enjoyment, we as Christians look at a cross. Cross says, you believe, you are the one of those who is approved and loved by God. Period. One in whom will enter into glory and be in peace and joy forever. That shows that you approve. Not your circumstances, that may hide, that you put your trust in. The fact you enter that narrow door. That's it. And we need to remember that as believers. For ourselves and for those around us as well, when we seek to comfort them and encourage them. Don't look at your circumstances. Look at the cross. I hope this has been encouragement to you, dear brothers and sisters. On this note, be blessed.